Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Modesto, tacos, tequila, and whiskey here, Burbank at Nicholson. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Scott Rabelais be with us for most of this show today. Max Gotro. Jimmy's on vacation, be on vacation for a while. Hope he enjoys his trip. We will soldier on without him. Wes Reynolds with us today. British Open is this week, and the NFL preview will continue with Randy McKay. Today's team will be the Buffalo Bills here at Modesto, where the happy hour is Tuesday through Friday from 2 until 6. Modesto Rita's Draft Beer and Wine, all half off. That's Tuesday through Friday here at Modesto. Guys, good morning. Also, Restaurant Week coming up here, July 21st through the 25th. We'll be telling you about that here at Modesto. Scott, welcome for a live appearance. You're usually with us on Wednesdays, but good to have you here live and in person.
Yeah, we used to do this, right? I'd come in for an hour once a week and a lot, and your show got so big time, you're international.
I think it was your media commitments that cut that
but
back
it's
a little bit.
It's nice to come in and kibitz with you guys for an extra time.
And look, I told you this morning, I said, technically this would be the deadest sports day of the year, okay? The day after the Major League All-Star game. Now, we've got World Cup today, so it's different this year. But we got as it turns out, we got all kind of stuff to talk about. The British Open is tomorrow. You golf masochists are going to be delighted at how fast this course is going to play. So you can root for the players. Sam Burns did make it there after the birth of, I believe, his second child. Wasn't going to play in this thing, but the baby, everything's squared away, healthy, happy. Mom's doing great. So he's headed over there. But we've also got a local issue, golf-wise, I want to talk to you about. SEC Media Days, you're going next week. LSU announced their participants yesterday. And before we get to all of that, LSU putting Burt Jones's name up on the facade. This story just came out this morning. Burt Jones, the first All-American quarterback in LSU history, is going to have his jersey retired. The school announced that today. He goes up there with Billy Cannon, Tommy Casanova, Jerry Stovall, Charles Alexander, and all but number 20 are still worn.
That's right.
So this is not – they're retiring his jersey, not his number. So if you're worried about the tradition of 7, no, you can still wear 7. There will still be 7s, but Jones's number is going up. His jersey is going up on the thing. He's one of your favorites, if not your all-time favorite LSU player.
He was my growing up. He was my all-time favorite player as a kid. Yeah, I had a Burt Jones Baltimore Colts poster up in my my bedroom, and of course he went from LSU. I think he was the number 2 pick in the 73 draft, and then was NFL MVP in 1976. Separated his shoulder in the last preseason game in '78. Was never the same. It's probably an injury today that his shoulder would be fine, but back then it wasn't. But he was growing up. He was the guy to me. And it was one time where I sit in the press box. I'm next to the athletic director's booth, and one time I'm sitting there, and he was there with like one of his grandsons, and I leaned around the glass and I said, "When I was your age, your grandfather was my favorite player in the world." And he shook my hand. And he's got Burks is like 6'3". He's huge hands, like a lot of quarterbacks do.
Yeah.
But great to see that honor. But as you said, people don't have to worry about the number 7 tradition. They're just retiring his jersey, not the number. And rightly so, because did you know, Charlie, that more All-Americans have worn number 7 at LSU than any other number?
Not until you told me before the show, but given the players that have adopted 7 here in the last, 20 years, how many of those All-Americans have come in that time period since they started doing this?
In the last 25 years.
25
after
years,
Burt Jones,
say.
Trev Falk was an All-American. Allie Highsmith, Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, who, as we talked about before the show, also wore 14, but he wore number 7 when he was a Heisman finalist. Leonard Fournette and Grant Delpit. So there's been and Alan Risher, who used to do the postgame show with, was an All-SEC quarterback, wore number 7. So there's been a lot of great. So it would kind of be inappropriate to exclude all those other people.
We don't count Jamar Chase in that.
No, he's number 1 as an All-American, I think.
Yeah,
so.
see,
he was gonna wear it in
COVID year
in 2020, but he didn't come back.
I love the idea of retiring jerseys without retiring numbers because, where at some point you have to stop retiring numbers or you don't have enough numbers.
That's right. You need a lot of numbers in college football.
I respect the players' desire for this tradition, and Richard Dixon does the postgame with me. He was an 18. Hester was an 18. So I understand that the players like that, that's all that really matters, right? For me personally, I have long identified LSU players with their numbers, and when there's so many 7s and so many 18s, it becomes harder, especially since a lot of those guys change their numbers. I see number 3 on a white LSU jersey with the purple and gold trim. I think about Kevin Falk.
I think about Dale Earnhardt, but that's
okay.
Just me.
14, I think about Michael Clayton. 99, I think about Rydell Melanson. 94, I think think Michael Brooks. 21, I think about Dalton Hilliard, and we could go on, and everybody's got different memories of that. So this is essentially LSU's version of a Ring of Honor, where you put the name up and the jersey number is still good. So I'm cool with all that.
Yeah, and to that end, the ceremony will be at the Texas game, which is LSU's regular season home. I would say regular season home finale because there could be another game in Tiger Stadium this year after that. Yeah. But so that's the regular season home finale. It will be the 5th one to go over there with Cannon, Casanova, Jerry Stovall, and Charles Alexander. So very deserving. Brings to mind, though, Charlie, who else deserves to be up there? Who should be next?
And that's,
I didn't think Burt was going to be next, quite honestly.
No, I really thought that Burt Jones is deserving. He's the first All-American quarterback in LSU history. It's historic. If you would have asked me when I didn't know that this story was dropping today, you did. You're in the know. But if you had told me this morning at breakfast, hey, they're going to put another name up on the facade, who do you think it's going to be? I would have guessed Glenn Dorsey, who is the most decorated defensive player in LSU history. If you had told me, no, that's wrong, guess again, I understand that it's probably too early for Burrow and Daniels, but we know that those numbers are going up eventually. But so those are the next 2 numbers that I would think of. And then we can go on and on about, the greats in LSU history. That's one of those debates that could go on forever. I mean, in every sport, right? We have these Hall of Fame discussions and that's essentially what this is. It's not the LSU Hall of Fame. It's the LSU football, Ring of Honor, whatever you want to call it.
And it does get a little more complicated. I assume for the Saints Ring of Honor, no one is going to wear number 9 for the Saints anymore, or some other ones, because you don't have as many players in the NFL. But you have 85 guys plus walk-ons. It's so many that they have double numbers. There are guys who play offense and defense are wearing the same number. It'll be interesting to know what they do if they do something for Tyrann Mathieu eventually, or Patrick Peterson. Do you have multiple number 7s in the stadium? I'm with you, though. Going back to Glenn Dorsey, I think he's the next one that should be honored, number 72. No one else that I can think of was number 72. So
if we're going to exclude Burrow and Daniels because of the recency,
right?
Okay, because if you just open it up to everybody, Burrow goes next, and then Daniels. But if you had said, no, those guys have to wait a certain amount of time, then after Dorsey, the next guy that's going up for me is Falk. Because the numbers speak for themselves, but also because of...
Still the second or third most rushing yards in SEC history, right?
I think he's behind Darren McFadden and...
That Walker guy?
Herschel Walker, that's it. Did Eric Rett? No. I think he's still third.
I think he's still third.
Kevin Falk's the next guy after that for me. But, again, you could have these debates for a long, long time about who's next.
Chubb beat him. He's 4th now. He's still ahead of Bo Jackson, though.
Right. So, again, to me, the next guy is Dorsey. The guy after that is Falk. And the second they become eligible in I don't know what the criteria is as far as wait period on this or if there even is one, but the second that they are eligible, the next two Heisman guys go in. Burrow goes first because he was first and because they won the national championship, and Daniels goes in the second that he can go in. That's my take on it.
I certainly would think it's whenever their pro careers are concluded. I would think it'd be sometime after.
Maybe that's got something to do with it as well. But there's a lot of guys that I could think of, and we're in this. The statue business now. They got into the statue business about 15, 20 years ago. So who's the next guy to get a statue? You have to win the Heisman to get a statue because, they got 2 in queue right now.
Right. Florida's got their 3. When you walk into the press box, the elevator, their 3 Heisman statues are right there. I think they should tap the brakes on the statues.
I've never been a statue guy.
But people love it. People flock to see the Shaq statue, especially, and then you got Maravich and
that's
Simone
fine.
Augustus
I qualify for grumpy old man on the statues.
Don't get off of my lawn with that statue.
Get off my lawn. I see statues and I think of religious figures in cemeteries. Okay, that's just me. But if they want to, I'm not so opposed to it that don't put that up. But it's a little bit past me. The things I choose to really worry about. You want to put a statue up of Joe Burrow and Jay Daniels? Go right ahead.
Well, the thing is when you start naming things for people, and obviously things have been named for people. Alex Box Stadium, Pete Maravich Assembly Center, Bernie Moore Track Stadium. And criteria seem to change over the years. That's the problem I have. Is like, okay, let's honor this person, and then not honor that person. And now you have 4 basketball players who have statues and 1 football player has a statue. And while LSU's had some great players, men's and women's basketball, obviously over the years. So Sylvia Fowles just gotten to the Naismith Hall of Fame, for example. Does she deserve a statue eventually? I would think so, but I don't think that it should happen in the next year or two.
My issue with namings is when you have multiple names for the same facility, essentially. Now, I get it. We can do Alec Box Stadium, Skip Urban Field. Skip Urban's got to have his name on there. The basketball court has 2 people named after it.
Well, we can go on all day about that.
Right. There was a spirited discussion about that for sure.
I don't like that part of it, where we're naming a billion things for the same arena, essentially.
The other debate that they're having is LSU decided to bring the 3 players that they decided to bring to media days: T.J. Daugherty, Trey'Dez Green, and Whit Weeks.
I couldn't tell you what number Daugherty is going to wear.
I think he's 6 actually, but there is some thought. I know Hunt and the guys were like, "Hey man, why not bring Sam Leavitt?" And so I've got a couple of thoughts on that. First of all, Burrow didn't go his first year. He went his second year. We tried all summer to talk to Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow said, "I will talk when I have accomplished something." So respected that. And the first time we ever heard Joe Burrow talk, correct me if I'm wrong here, Scott, was after the Miami game. The first game of the 2018 season. I don't remember Joe Burrow doing any media during camp that year. Mm-hmm. I know he didn't do any during the summer because we asked multiple times, and they were very polite about it. It's just like Joe doesn't want to talk until he's done something. Jaden Daniels didn't go in 22. He went in 23. Burrow went in 19. And it was kind of the same thing, although Daniels got here a little bit earlier in the calendar than Burrow did, and he didn't go. So I don't have any problem with them not bringing Sam Leavitt. Leavitt will talk when he's ready to talk. They could have done it here. If they don't want to do it, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time worried about it.
I don't think this has to be a controversial thing.
It's not. It's not.
I was just looking at the list of attendees that you released yesterday. Only 9 of the 16 schools are bringing their quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, that includes Arch Manning. That includes John Mateer. That includes Trinidad Chambliss. So
think anybody's going to want to talk to Arch Manning?
1 or 2.
I can sneak in some Manning talk while Jimmy's on vacation.
Yeah, do that. Do that. He'll appreciate that. But the reasoning I've heard from LSU is that he didn't do much in the spring. We did not talk to him during spring practice, and they don't want him just to his first time he talks to the media as an LSU Tiger just to be bombarded with questions about his health. And they swear we're going to get him during fall camp in August.
Which is fine.
Now, again, you could say that's not a good reason. You could say, yeah, I agree with that. I kind of get it. There are other players to bring. Whit Weeks is fine. Trey'Dez Green I think part of this is trying to get him more media exposure, to make him a Mackey Award, improve his Mackey Award stock and his All-American stock, and that's a good reason. And then Daugherty is an interesting one. I'm looking forward to talking to him more than any of them, quite honestly, because he played for Lane Kiffin.
Why did you follow Lane Kiffin?
Why were you one of those guys who came with him from Ole Miss? So I'm fine with it. Like I said, not every I think people kind of have this in their mind that every school brings their quarterback, and it's never the case. It's never the case.
Or that this is a prevailing opinion. The players that they bring are expected to be team leaders, big contributors. These are your main guys, right? Pop quiz, hotshot. Who did LSU bring last year?
Whit Weeks was one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You remember the other two? You went.
And I talked to them.
I had to look it up. I forgot. The second one should be fairly obvious if you think about it for just a second. The third one, I will be very impressed if you get. They did bring Whit Weeks last year.
Yeah. I'm totally blanking.
They did bring the quarterback last year. They brought Nussmeier.
Okay. Was it Chris Hilton?
Oh, you are just ruining my quiz here. Yes, it was Chris Hilton.
I was going to say Barry and Brown.
Who caught 12 passes for 122 yards for the year.
It was Hilton.
But at the time, he was going to be one of their main guys. Well, it turned out he's not going to be. I can't believe you got that. Did you look that up this morning? I was certain I was going to float that one.
Charlie, we talk about this stuff for a month and a half. I got to remember that.
I had forgotten. I had to go back and look it up. So sometimes you bring guys to media days and they end up being your main guys. And that's not a shot at Chris Hilton. He's a good kid. It just didn't work out for him here as well as he had hoped. But remember, at this time last year, going to Birmingham last year, was it Dallas?
Last year we were at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta.
Okay. It was
Birmingham in a while.
Okay.
In a while, actually.
What you think on July 15th and what you think on December the 15th is probably going to be pretty different. Just that example there. We're here at Modesto Corner, Burbank and Nicholson. Happy hour Tuesday through Friday from 2 until 6 with half off Modesto Rita's draft beer and wine. Taco Tuesday, $4 tacos along with happy hour and $10 dip trios here on Taco Tuesday. Restaurant Week is coming up next week, July the 21st through the 25th. The price point is $30 per person, 3 courses. First course, you can get your queso fundido, Southwest Caesar salad, or chicken tinga empanadas. Now, look, I'm doing all of the food while Jimmy's gone, so work with me here. This is pretty easy, though. Second course, 2 tacos or enchiladas or chicken poblano. And the third course is a dessert cheesecake churro or the flan neapolitano. To get that right? Close enough. And, of course, your Ritas as well. For Restaurant Week that goes July 21st through the 25th. Come on by and see us here at Modesto, Tacos, Tequila, and Whiskey, Burbank and Nicholson. Live at lunch, 104.5, ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. Your law firm for a lifetime. You get in a car accident like I did, it's just it's not fun. So pick up the phone, call 343-1111. You can go to the website at ocbrown.com and you can schedule it there. As soon as you pull up the main page, it'll direct you accordingly. It's easily. And that's what we would never charge for that initial consultation. You get in a car accident, you need it. Everybody knows that, and we'll take care of that. We'll pay for your doctor bills, set up the doctor bills, just eliminate as much of the stress and inconvenience that goes along with this. And that's where Dana comes in, especially negotiating with the insurance companies, which there's an art involved in that. So do like I did when I got into a car accident. Call our friends at Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. Your law firm for a lifetime, 343-1111 at ocbrown.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net, brought to you by Supreme Rice, celebrating 90 years in business in 2026. Support our Louisiana farmers. Go to SupremeRice.com. We are winding down the World Cup. The match that everybody was waiting for in the tournament, Spain and France yesterday, was dominated, really, by Spain. They move on 2-0. Max, I was the money was on a tie in regulation. We thought that there was a really good chance that this thing was going to go to extra time, that this might ended up in penalty kicks. These are supposed to be two very, very even teams, both of them defensive-minded, so the under was also a big play. France and Spain had not trailed in the tournament to this point. France had allowed one goal, I think, or 2 goals, and Spain had allowed 1. And Spain completely controlled the action yesterday. I didn't expect that kind of control of the match on either side.
Well, I had Spain in this match, and that's kind of the way they play. It's borderline boring if you avoid the fact that there was two of the top teams. It was arguably the final. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but this team has an extra day of rest, which notoriously has been very helpful for the team that plays in the first semifinal. Don't know why they scheduled that way. I feel like they should probably put them on the same day for fairness sakes, but nevertheless,
television would be my guess, but
I'm sure that's the answer. Spain, though, this is what they do. They control the ball, and they're great defensively, but if they have the ball for the most of the game, which is pretty much how they play, and I know the possession angles were pretty similar, but Spain had the lead for so much of this that France had to kind of get forward at the end of the match. But the penalty was a little unfortunate. It was a clear penalty, but it's just kind of like it's away from the ball. They're not scoring there. Ends up giving a clear opportunity.
He kicked the guy right in the gut.
But look,
I know he didn't mean to.
This is where I do understand where Jimmy has a point where it's like, where were they scoring there? Lamine Yamal gets fouled there. He wasn't in a scoring position. They didn't take away a real scoring opportunity, and they get a clear, 0.76 expected goal opportunity from the spot. So I get that criticism if you kind of new to soccer and you say, well, how can they just get a goal that can basically decide the match off of that? But nevertheless, a clear penalty, and Spain controlled the match. I mean, this is what they do. They're going to sit back. It might be a little boring to some, but they're going to beat you, and this is what they do, and I think they're going to win the whole thing.
It's easy to say if you're an American football fan, well, this is a foolish penalty. But I'm sorry. We have seen touchdowns come off the board because of an illegal formation. It had nothing to do with the play. Some wide receiver that's on the complete other side of the field is lined up either on or off the line of scrimmage.
Think about the NFL when a ball is overthrown and there's pass interference in the end zone. It could be a 50-yard penalty that sets them up at the 1-yard line. I mean, it does happen in sports.
And we do the whole they scored a goal. Is there going to be another offsides penalty? And one day when we've got a little bit of time, not today, you're going to explain to me why this offsides penalty is good for the sport. And if they took it away, I know, but I don't understand why. When we have some time, we're going to talk about that, and then I'll condense it onto something I can fit on a fortune cookie, and then I'll.
You don't understand offsides?
I understand it. Yes, I understand the penalty. I don't understand why abolishing the way that it is would create more offense. My limited amount of soccer knowledge. Okay, well then I believe you guys.
Ball knowers.
I just don't. I don't understand. And as far as can we cheer? We look for flags. There's video review in the NFL and college football and all that stuff. We deal with all the same crap.
VAR is
with American football.
VAR is broken to a point that is not similar in American sports. I will say that. We complain about officiating all the time. I think video assistant referee is one of the more egregious forms of video review in sport right now. It's not very good. It's inconsistent. I'll give you that.
I will say this with 100%. You can't talk me off of this. It does not increase my enjoyment of watching the sport. Okay, just like the shift in baseball. I have been watching baseball since I was old enough to count balls and strikes. When I see a ball off the bat that's going somewhere, I know 90% of the time whether it's a hit or whether it's going to be caught, especially if the ball's on the infield. But what I can't see from the center field camera is where the defenders are all aligned. So for years before they outlawed it, I'm looking at balls that are, in my mind, clean base hits, and they end up in the shortstop's glove on the the first base side of the bag at second in short right field. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Off to my eye, that was going to be a base hit. It didn't. I understand that I should be rewarding a coach for having a good enough scouting report to put the defender right where he is. That's great in football. It's great in basketball. I hated it in baseball. I'm glad they changed it back. I wish they changed the college game too. No, you go stand over there so that when the ball goes out to the outfield, I know if it's going to be a hit or if it's going to be caught. So our sports have their issues too.
I agree with Max. Spain has looked kind of boring at times, but they're so clinical and efficient. If you make a mistake, they're gonna make you pay. They've only given up one goal the entire World Cup.
Yeah.
One goal, and even take away the penalty kick goal, it still looked like they dominated the game. For example, France had a couple of chances. One time the goalie came way out of the penalty box, and another opportunity France could have scored a goal there. But boy, they looked really good. And this is a team that tied Cape Verde in their very first game of group play. I was like, are they really going to be that good? Of course, Argentina lost 4 years ago to start the World Cup, but they look like the favorite. And I think they'll be the huge favorite over either England or Argentina.
They do it without a standout performer too. Like Lamine Yamal is the clear number one, but he hasn't had a standout performance.
And that handful of superstars in the World Cup, he's not. Right. They don't have one.
He's
of those.
not putting out a bunch of goals or assists. And
right.
if you look at the Golden Ball, which is essentially the MVP of the tournament, I don't think a Spanish player is going to win it. Even if they win, they're going to probably, in my opinion, win the tournament, but. They're not going to win the Golden Ball, I don't think. They just haven't had a standout performer to win MVP of the tournament. I think there's a decent chance. We could see a rematch of the 2024 Euros, which was Spain over England. And that's the one thing about the World Cup right now is it's like Europe is the SEC and the Big Ten combined. It's super dominant. They have some standout teams, some Argentinas, some African teams that can compete. But ultimately, this is a European type of tournament. And we'll see if England can advance today.
You just got to get the transfer portal. That's the key to this. Who you like today?
Yeah,
you got to pick.
I kind of reference. I think it's going to be England. I've watched Argentina.
Yeah, regular time or to advance.
I'll just say to advance. It's pretty close, right? It's I think at minus 125, 130, something like that on England. Argentina just. How long can they get away with it? Is it like the Chiefs of old where. They finally met their match against the Eagles where everyone felt like they're getting every single call that goes their way and they're not really doing it in dominant fashion. I watched it in person and they still weren't all that impressive. I think Switzerland was the better team for most of that match until they went a man down and then ultimately they finally gave up a goal in extra time, which was a great goal by Alvarez. But they're just lacking. They haven't been all that strong the entire tournament, and England has shown you something. They showed that you can go to the Azteca and beat them. Jude Bellingham's been outstanding in this tournament, so I think England tactically is better as well. They've got a great coach in Thomas Tuchel. I think England is the better side, and like I said, I think we'll see a rematch of Euro 2024.
Be a great day on Sunday in merry old England if England's playing for the World Cup and somehow an Englishman is in contention at the Open.
There's talk of it affecting the tee times.
Well, isn't that it's a Super Bowl over there? I mean,
it will be at 8 o'clock local time. I think the actual World Cup match. So I would hope that they wouldn't move up the tee times, but they normally would finish play at about 6:30. There would be concern if it goes to a 3-hole aggregate playoff. That's where they would be concerned about overlap.
I do remember when the LSU women's basketball team had a game scheduled when the Saints were playing the Super Bowl at it was going to overlap into the first half, and they couldn't move it because the women's basketball game had been slotted for television. Mm-hmm. There was a real concern about staffing for that women's basketball game because everybody wanted to see the Saints in the Super Bowl. We're brought to you by the Thibodeau Store and the Pierreport Store, open in La Rose and Lockport. Right now, if you're painting, great time to stock up on your paint and your paint supplies at the Thibodeau Store. Go to thethibodeaustore.com. Up to 26% off of a lot of your paints, your painting supplies, your drywall compound, your wall repair, spackling and primer, your professional green painter's grade tape, and a whole lot more on special right now at the Thibodeau Store. All your brushes, all your rollers are available too. So if you're doing some painting right now, a chance to save Same-day pickup available, everything at the website, delivery available on many of these items, too. You're doing some construction this summer. All of your lumber can be delivered out and building supplies out of the Thibodaux store and also out of the Lockport store. So get them delivered now. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, Highway 70 in Pierre Part, and online it's thethibodauxstore.com. Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yes, don't forget our friends at Go Chevrolet in LaPlace, Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine, Go Chevrolet West in Plaquemine, and Go Ford in Waveland, Mississippi. My buddies Lee Carney and Nick Richard doing a wonderful job. Mention my name, Jimmy Ott, for VIP pricing, whether you're in the market for a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle with extension of the factory warranty. We have a certified body shop as well, and our concierge service department, there's nothing like it. You talk about convenience on a different level. I don't just talk about the great vehicles from the Go Automobile Dealership family. My Tahoe came from Go Chevrolet in LaPlace. The Go Automobile Dealership family.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Uh-oh, they let the big dog out.
Boom! Out of nowhere.
It's time for the big dog, Randy McKay, with his best picks.
And return here at Modesto. Don't forget Restaurant Week, $30 a person. Next week, July 21st through the 25th. Coming to us from somewhere considerably cooler than Baton Rouge, I'm sure. Randy McKay. Randy, good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, and of course I always like a cooler environment in the summer, so yes, that is correct.
Welcome to the Dakotas today, or Colorado?
Yeah. I'm actually traveling. I was in Blackhawk, Colorado last week, and I'm coming through northern Nevada today, and but it's still cooler up here in Jackpot, little town on the Idaho border. So it's pretty nice here as well.
Jackpot, what a wonderful name for a town, especially for us. All right, Randy, we're into our NFL previews now with you. Today's team is the Buffalo Bills. New coach, Joe Brady. Let's start that. Well, let me give out some of the numbers here at our local shop here down at the Queen and Bally's. They are plus 1,000, 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. They are minus 125 to win the AFC East. Their over-under is 10.5 wins, minus 120 to the over. Minus 320 to make the playoffs, and got a couple, and plus 530 to be the number one seed. So let's start with Joe Brady, somebody that we're very familiar with down here. He was a part of that magical season in 2019. How do you rate first-year coaches when they are first-time coaches as well? Head coach.
Yeah, and also changed to the new stadium as well.
New stadium's opening, that's right.
In Buffalo, so we got new head coach. Brady takes over for McDermott, and I always had McDermott right up there as a top 10 coach, even though he could have benefited from a strategy coach here. He made too many bad in-game decisions, and of course he'll, in the town of Buffalo, never get rid of that loss to Kansas City in the 20 seconds or whatever, and they tied it up and lost that game. So with Brady and the new coaches, I always, new coach, I don't know what I'm getting, so they're always rated lower in the coaching rankings till I get some data on them. He also has an offensive coordinator you guys know pretty well, and Pete Carmichael, so you get two former Saint coaches there, and but I'm more worried about this Buffalo team on defense, so if you want to talk about the defensive changes here, that is the big issue for this team, in my opinion.
Well, let's start there then with the schedule against the NFC North, the AFC West, and the other game, that one game that you play against a team from the other conference where you finished at the same spot is probably the toughest one on the card for anybody. They are at the Rams on a Monday Night Football game. So, yeah, let's start with the defense and what changes that they have made there.
Yeah, they brought in Bradley, brought in some veterans here, spent some money, brought in Bradley Chubb, C.J. Johnson, and D. Alford, for their back line in the secondary has been their problem. A lot of high-scoring, high-variance games they play that get them in trouble, and that's where some of McDermott's issues came to hand. There's not winning them close, high-scoring games, and and that was a big factor with this defense, and also the depth of the defense. It's an older defense. Can they stay healthy? And that's going to be the big question here, and big question for this team, and a very, very tough schedule, like you mentioned. The offensive line should help this. They got one of the strongest offensive lines, in my opinion, here with Dawkins and McGovern, the center. So, that should help Allen control the game a little bit with the run game, and they were doing that some in the last couple of years, not trying to make him be the playmaker, and, of course, bringing in this, DJ Moore should help out a lot, and but this schedule here, like you said, is very tough. Outside the division, like you said, is very difficult. They start out week 1 versus the Texans. A couple bet against spots, too. They're, for me, the only bets I see against Buffalo are bet against spots. They're usually a public team. So, week 1 against the Texans at the Texans, I don't see that being a very good spot for Buffalo. So that's a good spot to take the Texans. And like you said, Monday Night Football versus the Rams. They have 3 straight home games after they play the Texans. They have Detroit on a Thursday, which should be a big Thursday game in week 2, and then they play New England as their last of the schedule. That the 3 straight at home until they go Monday night to the Rams. So bet against the Bills too when they go to L.A. to play the Rams there on Monday Night Football.
It's an odd schedule from 2 standpoints for me, and I know you're very, very good at picking spots in the schedule. Randy, there's a couple things that to me are odd about this thing. You just mentioned one, the 3 straight home games. They try hard not to do that unless they have to. The second thing is there's 2 stretches where they play 4 out of 5 weeks on the road. 2 separate stretches where they play 4 out of 5 on the road, which almost doesn't even seem possible with the home game stuck right in the middle. So just a very oddly configured schedule for Buffalo.
Yeah, the schedule maker didn't do them any favors here. And, you'd think after all these years of doing schedules, and, of course, they get these guys in there that, think they're brainiacs or whatever, and you still see some, that helps us as a bettor, find some leaks in the schedule. And like I mentioned, I think there's 2 pretty good ones right there. Just the week 1, with the transition of this team going in and playing a playoff team like the Texans. Of course, the Texans have their issues, but they have a great defense. So, they're going in to play against that great defense in week 1. That could be a very bad spot there. And like we said, these schedule makers sometimes, make some mistakes and don't give the teams enough rest. The rest here is pretty good for Buffalo, but, these quirks really, really hurt this team.
I'm not a big prop guy, especially when it comes for the season. Too many things can happen. But there's one that really caught my attention. Josh Allen over 3,500 passing yards. He's done that 6 years in a row, Randy. He's only minus 140. He went over that number last year despite having the leading rusher in the NFL in James Cook. So it's not like they weren't balanced. Like I said, I'm not a big proponent of a lot of season-long props. Injuries and stuff are always going to be able to get you there. But 3,500 yards, if Josh Allen plays 17 games, seems really doable, if not likely.
Yeah, and especially, he's a strong quarterback that usually doesn't have that injury bug of any kind of concern. He has little nicks here and there. And, like I said before, with that strong offensive line, that should hopefully cut down on him. And, Brady as a we'll see, he's a offensive coordinators moving to head coach usually isn't a very good thing for the team. You can bring up a lot of pass. I think of Norv Turner in this situation. He wasn't the best head coach, and there's many others that have moved into the position from offensive coordinator to head coach that haven't done very well. But we've seen his influence be in the running game over these last couple of years and trying to limit Josh Allen and his playmaking ability and running around and all that crazy stuff he does. And, that's helped Josh Allen, too, not not turn the ball over and not make some of the crazy plays that he used to as well.
All right, Randy, we got you down for go against Buffalo and against the Texans. First game with the new head coach, also against them when they go to Los Angeles to play the Rams on October the 12th. Any opinion or recommendation on over under 10.5 wins, or to make the playoffs, not make the playoffs, or anything else prop-wise on the Bills?
The make the playoffs, I definitely see them making the playoffs there, but laying that kind of juice, you're a few injuries away from them maybe not making the playoffs. So that's not a bet for me. But the regular season wins, as far as that goes, there is, some sites now have during the season have regular season wins. So that's a wait and see how this new change is coming in effect here with this team, with the new stadium, and then of course with the new head coaching staff, and see how this team adapts. So they're both wait and sees for me, and but I do see a couple spots. Buffalo's always a public team. They want to bet on the quarterback Allen and this high fancy offense, so you're always going to get line value betting against them, and that's where I see these two spots.
Randy, we appreciate your time. Safe travels. We'll talk to you next week. We'll take a look at Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. Safe travels, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, guys, and good luck, everybody out there.
Professional sports handicapper Randy McKay, one of the best in the business. We're here at Modesto, speaking of the best in the business, tacos, tequila, and whiskey, and happy hour Tuesday through Friday from 2 until 6 p.m. That's Modesto Reader's draft beer and wine half off. Live at lunch from Modesto, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive at 8445 Segan Lane, just off of Perkins, between Perkins and I-10. It's the only place I take my vehicle. Jason Payne, going to give you an honest deal. Not going to upcharge you for unnecessary work. Now, because of it, he has so much repeat business that it's busy. If you bring it in and it's too busy at that time, he will schedule a more convenient time for you and for them. So you're not just sitting around. You come in, they want you busy, and you just sit there and wait and wait and wait for hours upon hours upon hours. Not going to happen at K&M Automotive. Tell them you heard it right here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. My buddy Jason Payne at K&M Automotive, 8445 Segan Lane, just off of Perkins, across Segan from Ambrosia Bakery.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Modesto, live at lunch. Scott Rabelais with us today. Jimmy's on vacation. Max Gautreaux as well. Scott, if you missed it at the top of the show, Burt Jones's jersey is being retired by LSU. His name's going up on the facade. You did a story about the most famous play in Burt Jones's career at LSU. The 1 second blues, the touchdown, 2 plays in 4 seconds. Funny story that went along with that.
Yeah, there was a 1972 LSU Ole Miss game. Burt Jones leads LSU on an 80-yard drive in the final 3 minutes. Throws a touchdown pass to Brad Davis with 1 second left. Of course, the thing was there was an incomplete pass to, I think, was it Mickey Fratesi?
That sounds right.
And the Ole Miss people were celebrating. That started with 4 seconds left, and then. There's 1 second left on the clock in Tiger Stadium, of course, and he throws the pass to Brad Davis in the south end zone, and they in front of the Ole Miss fans in that corner of the stadium. LSU Rusty Jackson kicks the extra point. They win 17-16. So on the 20th anniversary, so this is a long time ago now. That's why I'm really dating myself. I talked to a lot of the people involved in the game. I talked to Burt and I talked to Rusty Jackson, who's since passed away, and Brad Davis, and Burt Jones is He's one of those people. He always loves to get in a little jab, a little needle.
Yeah.
He said those Ole Miss people complain that we ran 2 plays in the last 4 seconds. What they should complain about is Brad was out of bounds when he caught the ball because he was right at the corner, right at the pylon, right.
And there's not a great shot of that where his foot would have been out of bounds that I've seen. Have you seen one?
No, there's a grainy, jumpy film that you see because the game wasn't televised or anything. And fortunately, I talked to Brad Davis afterwards. He's like, "Bert's always starting that bleep. I was in bounds."
Look, he was joking, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
of course he was joking.
But Rusty Jackson said, somebody told him, if Bert leaves a touchdown And he was a country boy from North Louisiana, I think. If Burt's leads you to a touchdown, you miss an extra point, they're going to hang you from the goal post.
Yeah.
And of course, he was a straight-on kicker, and there was no gimme, back then, and he didn't miss it. They won the game.
Then old brother Jackson kicked the PAT. That's the lyric in the song, right?
And there was a sign on the state line.
Set your clock back 4 seconds. Yeah. The 1 second blues. Burt Jones, number 7, the jersey being retired. Not the number, the jersey being retired. Hour number 2 here at Modesto, where Restaurant Week, July 21st through the 25th, the $30 tier. You got multiple options here. We'll be telling you about that through the course of today's show. And happy hour from 2 until 6. Half off Rita's draft beer and wine. Live at lunch from Modesto, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Enjoying the finer things in life is his forte. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate.
We really should have gotten you a margarita so we could have toasted here. Since you're on site with us today, Jimmy, on vacation for a while. So, Scott, one of a number of guests that we're going to have with us in person here over the next few weeks. It's Restaurant Week at Modesto here, Burbank and Nicholson, starting next week on the 21st through the 25th. The $30 courses, 3 courses. Your first course, the queso fundido, the Southwest Caesar salad, or the chicken tonga. That's your first course. Second course, you can have 2 tacos, your enchiladas, or your chicken poblano. Third course, dessert, cheesecake churro, or the flan neapolitano. That's here at Modesto, where every day, Tuesday through Friday, is happy hour from 2 until 6 p.m. And Taco Tuesday, $4 tacos, $10 dip trios, and happy hour drink specials to go along with that. Get here into season. Stop on by Modesto on game day for terrific specials before LSU football. All right, we're going to talk some golf with the British Open, obviously, starting tomorrow. But before we get to that, Scott, there was a meeting last night. This is a local story, so if you're listening online, you're somewhere else in the country, you may not get this one, but I wanted to spend a few minutes because you went to this meeting. And the one thing I know about community meetings is every now and then you will get a topic that really, really gets local interest, and you see these things are packed. The last one I went to was when they put the Tiger Dams at the top of the levee, and everybody was worried about flooding in downtown Baton Rouge. That's been, 20 years ago. You went to one last night, and this is over the future of City Park and the golf course, the 9-hole golf course therein. There were over 2,500 people at this thing?
No, a couple hundred. Hundred.
Where did I get 2,500? I'm sorry. I know where I got it from. My glasses, my eyesight. Okay. All right, I read 2,500. 250 people, okay, which is still, it was crowded. There were a lot of people that wanted to speak. Tell me what's going on here. I read the column, but you explain to people what's going on with City Park.
Yeah, Breck has hired this consulting firm to come up with a plan to revamp, make changes, improve City Park. City Brooks Park, which is officially named, and of course, part of the park is a 9-hole golf course. What's the big deal? 9-hole golf course. Well, it's historic. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, and the plan calls for them to take a little land out of the course. It's currently a par 32, make it a par 31, reroute some of the holes, basically change the course a lot, and possibly make it really nice. I don't know. I don't exactly have faith that that's going to happen. So this is a large, very well-organized contingent. If you live in Baton Rouge, you've seen the yard signs. They keep City Park Golf Course intact. They're everywhere. And who don't want them to change the course. And people, there are people who were there at the meeting most people were of that mind. Don't change the course. There are a few people who are like, I don't care about golf, and that's fine. You don't have to care about golf. It's not everybody's sport. But there's some people who kind of have this attitude that it's all elitist. And if you're playing at City Park, you're not elite. Okay, trust me. And my problem with it is I want them to leave the golf course as it is. I'm a golfer. I admit it. I played there since I was a kid. in 2007, they changed 2 of the holes. Really, they made number 5 from a par 4 into par 3. They made number 9 from a par 4 to a par 3. This would involve changing more of the course and shortening it, because they changed it once. They would change it this time. What's to keep them 20 years from now from changing it even more?
When they say they're going to improve this, there is a lot of skepticism as to whether they would make this worse.
Yes, sure.
Okay, that's a Breck problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look, do there need to be improvements to City Park? I think so. Yeah, like the Brooks Park community park part of it. Improve the swimming pool. Let's talk about putting in a 400-meter track. Those things are great, but this is a historic thing. And at this point, Charlie, we're sitting here several of my shots away from where the LSU golf course,
3 Buzzy Heidel long tosses,
used to exist across from Alex Box Stadium, where the new LSU arena allegedly will be built one day. That just closed in May. At this moment, there are only 2 courses within the city limits of Baton Rouge, 2 public courses. Webb Park, which is 18 holes, and City Park, which is 9 holes. So some people wanted to be done away with completely. I don't think that's going to happen. I was worried about that when I wrote a column about this last month. I don't, having been to this meeting, I don't think that's in the cards, but it definitely is a possibility that it could get shortened again. And the worry is, again, that is this the only time? Are they going to come back and say, it's prime land? City Park's like about 150 acres. The golf course takes up about a third of it. There are many other uses for the golf course. There's a dog park. There's a croquet lawn. There's tennis courts. There's the Knock Knock Museum for children. There's other things. There's places for people to fish and to run and stuff. I don't think that the course needs to be messed with. But that's my opinion as a golfer.
27 holes for a city of this size for public golf seems like a low number to me.
There's Santa Maria, which
in the
parish.
Plenty of places
there's Beaver
you can
Creek,
play,
there's
but
J.S. Clark. But we've lost Howell Park. We used to be in North Baton Rouge. We've lost Dumas Golf Course, which is up near the zoo. When they redid the zoo, they did away with that course. We've lost lots of country clubs around town, which again brings up the elitist part of it for people. Briarwood, Sherwood Forest, Fairwood. A lot of these courses have gone away over the years, and it's public golf is under assault in Baton Rouge, and I really hate to see it.
I agree with you, Scott, a little bit in this.
We should really hear from you, since you play more golf than any of us.
Look, I haven't played City Park in a while. I grew up. I played it a little bit in high school golf and whatnot. I enjoy the course. It's a great beginner's course. I'd advise it to anyone who's just picking up the game. I get if you don't play golf, you look at golf and you say, what does this do for me? Why are we funding this, whatnot? I will say Louisiana is, I think, 3rd fewest per capita behind like California and Texas in terms of golf courses in general. And if you go to other cities, and I've been to Chicago, I've been to Houston, has a municipal course that hosts a PGA Tour event.
Right, Memorial Park.
If you see
I played the old version of it.
Yeah. If you play municipal golf, which is funded by the taxpayers in other venues and other states, cities around the country, it's typically way nicer than what Breck is offering. And so if you want to say that there shouldn't be any Breck golf, I would just say that it exists a whole lot more to even, a higher expense to the taxpayer in most other places around the country. And so I don't think getting rid of another golf course solves many of the public's issues, because golf is growing right now, and yet golf in Baton Rouge publicly is, decreasing at this point.
Mike Rabies, the head of Breck Golf, said their rounds are overall on their 5 golf courses are doubled from what they were, before COVID. It's really increased. Golf that's been one thing that was a surprisingly nice thing that happened under COVID, with all these terrible things that happened, was that a lot of people started all across the country started playing golf. And other cities like Omaha, I've gone to Omaha a bunch of times, played golf a bunch of times in Omaha. There are a lot of privately owned public courses in Omaha that you can play, like clubs that allow people to play. And we only have one of those in East Baton Rouge Parish, and that's Copper Mill. Baton Rouge Country Club, you have to be invited. Remember, Country Club Louisiana, So anyway, I understand if people don't like golf or don't get it exactly. And there was some mention last night that, overall, Breck Golf loses a little bit of money, but that's parks, man. Do playgrounds make money? No. Do basketball courts that are in parks make money? No, but you need to have them for the general public recreation
A
overall.
ton of people are playing pickleball right now, but I don't think pickleball courts make money. They're just very useful for the public because people have picked that up.
There's some people making money with pickleball, but
no, I'm just saying public
pickleball
courses.
Rounds are up at City Park compared to 5 years ago, like 3 times. They're like 20-something around 20-something, and it's only increasing more because it's the closest course to LSU. Because since the LSU golf course closed, so.
Let me come up with a really radical idea here, because it seems like you're talking in generalities. They are going to improve the course. Well, how? Come back to me with a plan, okay? This is what – now, the plan's going to cost money. You're going to have an architect and, any number of other engineers that, are going to have to work on this. But show me what it looks like before you just say, give us the money, we'll improve it, and you come back. Oh, there is a plan.
Well, there are 2 – if you're watching this online, there are 2 plans that Sasaki, the firm that came up with this, are proposing. Both of them involve shortening the golf course. Dixon McMakin, who people, is the new voice of Tiger Stadium and is a state representative. His district borders City Park. Came up with a plan that kind of uses elements of both. It still, according to the way it looks, it still shortens the golf course a little bit, which I'm not for. But if they redo the golf course according to the Sasaki plans, if they adopt one of these plans, it's going to cost money. The cheaper option would be to leave the golf course alone. Yeah. Quite honestly, they're talking about building an amphitheater. They're talking about building a beer garden on the lake. Now, some of the residents who live near City Park Golf Course don't want that. That's a whole other issue, and I think there are definitely improvements could be done. But City Park in Baton Rouge, it's not huge. It's 1/10 the size basically of City Park in New Orleans, which has two 18-hole golf courses in it. But they're swallowed up by the immense size of City Park in New Orleans. This is a bigger part, and of course it's very visible because it's right there. But some people just want it to be a green space, and okay, but we're going to lose another golf course. I don't think coming from this meeting that we're going to lose City Park Golf Course in its entirety, but I'm just worried that they're going to say a little piece here, a little piece there, a little piece there.
Yeah. All right, before you have to go, the Open starts tomorrow. You and Max were high-fiving before because this course is going to just eat up these players.
I don't know that that's true. It's just going to be firm. I don't think it's going to be that hard.
I'm picking a little bit, but it is going to play firm and fast. What do you think? Who you like? Besides the golf course, I know you're rooting for the golf course.
Well, I'm rooting for the golf course. I hope they hit all the balls in bunkers and in the wispy rough, and it causes them problems, and the wind blows, sideways, and blows their hats off. I gotta go. I'm not. I always just say Scotty Scheffler, but I'm not saying Scotty Scheffler right now. I know he just missed this cut at the Scottish Open, breaking his 4-year-long streak, and he's been playing good. He's been playing better than people think this year, but I think something is a little off, and he doesn't quite have the control with his irons that's going to allow him to win. I got to go with Matt Fitzpatrick. I think Matt, he's had an excellent year. He's English. He certainly knows how to play in these kind of conditions. Links golf, and he's that'd be my pick. But I could go with Rory. I know I'm not picking. Is Bryson DeChambeau? Will he make the cut? That's got to be a bet out there somewhere. That's a prop bet out there somewhere, right? Will he make the cut in the major for the first time this year?
He's going for the Cancun Slam. He's
1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 if he misses this week. I actually think no. I think he misses the cut. It's like plus 145 to miss the cut.
Did you see what Nick Faldo said? He just slammed. He said he has no plan. He does not know how to play links golf. He let him have it, which I didn't mind seeing, quite honestly.
We have these discussions about the equipment from time to time, but it seems like his game went to hell when he made his own clubs. Max, am I remembering this right? He had his
3D printed.
He had his 3D printer. He made his own clubs, and his game has been crap since.
I don't know. It's that he's always tinkered.
I don't know if that's why, but
he's had a lot going on. The future of Live is certainly affecting probably his state right now. He's got YouTube golf still going on. He's expanded that a lot. I will say, you're probably going to hear Matt Fitzpatrick out of my name later. I think he's going to be clearly the most popular pick this week, and I agree with you on his form, Scott. Tony Jacklin, the last Englishman to win a Open championship on English soil. That's something that
1969.
1969 at Royal Lytham
See, I
in St.
knew that
Anne's.
one.
So, see, Chris Hilton, there you go.
The
You knew
Englishman
that
I'm pulling for, the player I'm pulling for the most is Justin Rose. I mean, he's come so close to the Masters the last couple of years, and I remember. You don't remember this. In 1998, he was this fresh-faced amateur who finished third or fourth.
Was that the Vandevelde year?
No, this was at Birkdale, and
Okay.
when Mark O'Mara won. Vandevelde was the next year at Carnoustie.
Carnoustie. Yeah.
But I just think golf. I just feel like golf owes him another major. He won the U.S. Open, of course, at Marion in 2013. But I just think they owe him another major. I'd like to see him win.
Top 12 in all 3 majors this year. I kind of agree. 45, he's probably running out of time.
Definitely.
I got no problem rooting for Justin Rose. He's very easy, very likable guy to root for. I'm going to root for Sam Burns, though.
Sure.
Besides what he's
getting closer, isn't he? He seems like he's getting closer to winning one.
Well, I don't know what the time off here to his second child coming along.
Yeah, that's
his rest schedule and all that.
I think it's going to make it a little difficult for him. If Wyndham Clark didn't just putt out of his mind, he wins the U.S. Open at Shinnecock.
He really did. Scott, safe travels to Tampa next week. New venue.
We'll talk?
We'll talk, yes.
Yeah,
we'll
new
talk.
venue.
Get your people, talk to my people. We'll have you on next week. Thanks a lot, buddy. We're brought to you by Total Maintenance, their membership program. Service today, every day. You get in their service program for $24.95 a month. You get service twice a year, 50% off of all diagnostics, 15% off of all repairs, or you go for the Elite plan, which has all of the services that we just talked about in the basic plan. Plus, you get a bonus credit for signing up, $200 in total maintenance bucks for that credit, and 50% off of your monthly fee. So, nobody wants to go to sleep hot. Believe me, if your AC is out, you're going to feel it here in these sweltering summertime months. Total Maintenance, 480-0007, 225-480-0007. Total Maintenance, service today, every day. Wes Reynolds with us when we return live at Modesto. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Relief windows for windows, vinyl, storm impact windows, wood windows. That's like I had to. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine does, there is only one solution. You got to go to Relief Windows. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. I've had them for about 6 or 8 years. They are built to last in these extreme southern Louisiana weather conditions. They look brand new. They're functional on a nice fall or spring day. I love opening it up, getting some fresh air. Functional, look great, and they are no signs of deteriorating at all. Not the same with normal wood windows. It's not a cheap procedure, so do it right the right time and don't have this recurring cost a little bit later down the road like I did. Yeah, was in the market for it. I sure wish I'd have used Relief Windows with the original construction of my homes. For windows, doors, siding, shutter, and shades, go to reliefwindows.com. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Relief Windows, 288-8138.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
Return here at Modesto. Happy hour Tuesday to Friday, 2 until 6, half off. Modesto Reed is draft beer and wine and restaurant week coming up next week, the 21st through the 25th on the $30 tier here at Modesto. Wes Reynolds joins us now as we are on the eve of the Open Championship. Wes, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, guys. Good to be with you.
All right, Max is licking his chops over here. He thinks that this golf course is going to absolutely annihilate the golfers because
that's not true.
I know. I keep messing with you. The firmness and the speed in this tournament at Royal Birksdale. What do you think about? I'm going to call it course changes. You can correct me if that's the wrong terminology or what adjustments they have made here as we head into the Open.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily going to pulverize the players. I think it's kind of a straightforward setup, to be honest with you. Really flat in the fairway, so there's not a lot of this randomness that you get at some of the Open rotation courses in terms of, you get a bad bounce and all of a sudden you're just in an awful spot, unless it goes into one of the fairway bunkers here, which is going to be tough to reach the green. But it is going to be firm. You can kind of already see the brown in the fairways a little bit. So you will see some guys that really try to bomb it. But I still think accuracy is going to matter. Approach is going to matter the most because these are small targets on these greens. So it is going to be, I think, relatively scoreable. I don't know how scoreable, but it's sunny forecast over there, so it's pretty warm in the summer, very high 70s. And we'll see what the wind does. It doesn't look like the first 2 days that it's going to be all that much, but maybe picks up on the weekends in terms of the later portions of the round. So I think that this is going to probably play like Royal St. George did about 4 years ago when Morikawa ended up winning.
Wes, before we get to your picks, let's talk about Scottie Scheffler missing his first cut in 78 events, a little bit of extra time coming in here. A very odd, even for Scottie, press conference, kind of morbid press conference yesterday. I'll let you comment on that. And the state of his game, a bunch of top 20s, some top 10s, even some top 5s, but no win since January, and now coming off of his first missed cut in 4 years, I believe it is, 78 events, whatever that comes out to.
Yeah, and I know missing cuts isn't maybe what it was, considering we have these no-cut events and the signatures, but still, playing every single weekend for almost pretty much the better part of 4 years is, I think, still an accomplishment. I'm not necessarily selling him all that much just because of a missed cut. I think, sometimes you get randomness, and then the very next week, the guy goes out and wins. I did not bet him this week, but you would think he's going to play well. He's just been so consistent. He's just been, like we talked about, he's just been a little bit off, I think, of his peak, and just maybe hadn't put it all together. But if you do any stat modeling, he's going to come out as number one in pretty much everybody's model because his game hadn't fallen off a cliff. He just hasn't gotten into the winner's circle. But I think you're now seeing the market kind of caught up to him where he's drifted out to 750. Some books even had him 8-1 at some point this week where he was almost like a co-favorite with Rory. And I think that that's probably fair at this point.
All right, Wes, let's get to the picks. The Open Championship at Royal Birchdale.
Yeah, and guys, I usually, because it's been good to do so in recent years, side with more Americans in this, but I do have a lot more Europeans than I certainly thought I would, and I start with a couple Englishmen. Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, high teens right now on the prices. Fitz especially, number one on approach, number one around the green, especially exceptional from scrambling out of that short grass, which you're going to get here at Birkdale. Hasn't really gone off at the majors as much, 18th, 14th, and 22nd in the three majors, but the putter has progressively gotten better throughout the season. He started so cold on the West Coast, and he's obviously going to be very popular, but he falls in line with that recent trend that we've seen at the Open. I think it's 10 in the last 12 and 18 in the last 25. Guys that win the Claret Jug and become the champion golfer of the year have won earlier in the calendar year. Fitzpatrick's won 3 times, so a real good showing here at the Open, I think, would cap off potentially a Player of the Year campaign. And then Fleetwood, his price probably should be a little bit higher because the win equity hadn't been there, but the consistency had 14th or better in his last 5 starts. Appears to be peaking at the right time, first in scrambling, third around the green, 6th in driving accuracy. This is his hometown in Southport, England, so maybe there's a little bit of extra pressure here, but this was the one I had pinpointed for him in the offseason, so I'm going to stick with it despite the fact that the number is not quite to my liking. I did mention Morikawa. I think he fits the bill really well here this week at about 33-1. Began the year with a win for the first time in 28 months when he won at Pebble Beach, and there's a little bit of correlation because that's off the water and Birkdale's off the water, off the Irish Sea, in fact. And he's kind of, I don't want to say up and down in terms of poor play because I think he's been pretty consistent throughout the year, but he had that back injury, stalled the momentum a little bit, had to withdraw from the players, and then he and his wife welcomed their first child in mid to late May. So now I think like that's kind of like behind him and he can take a breath. And you saw in his last start he had a 61 in the final round, finished third at the Travelers, second in approach, 5th in driving accuracy, 5th for distance from the edge of the fairway. So that's kind of been the recipe here in past Opens at Birkdale. Find fairways and hit good irons, and that's what Morikawa does. A couple other Europeans, Robert McIntyre, 3 top 8s and 6 starts at the Open, including T7 last year at Port Rush, top 10 in putting. T3 last week at the Scottish, where he led the field with his iron. So let's see if he can carry that over one more week. Terrell Hatton, about the same price, led the field in putting last week in Scotland. Did win earlier this year at Live on Maine at Valderrama. Recently became a first-time dad. Maybe that's calmed his demeanor a little bit to get him across the finish line. He's always kind of going to be hot-headed, but where it's like, okay, if he makes a mistake, he can recover a little bit better in years past. And then we'll go with one old guy here, Justin Rose, 41-1. And it was here at Birkdale in 1998 where he actually made his Open Championship debut. 17 years old, and a C4 is low amateur, so that'd be a nice story. And the fact that 40-year-old guys have won here at the Open in recent years. Darren Clark, Phil, Sense, and Herniels all in the last 15 years. So I think he can make a go of it. He was 3rd, 10th, and 11th in 3 majors thus far this year. So Justin Rose, I think, will play very well. And then a couple Americans, can't have all Europeans here. Russell Henley, around 50-1. Did kind of disappoint at the U.S. Open after his T3 at the Masters, but he's kind of become a regular in majors on that first page of the leaderboard. A couple top 10 at the Open in the last 2 years. Number 1 in driving accuracy, so if you think the accuracy is going to be important, that could be your guy. And then I did take a guy north of 100-1 who maybe wouldn't jump out at me, but his short game is just so good in sand saves, around the green, and putting, and that's Maverick Sealy, who posted career best finishes in all 3 majors this year. So why not a 4th here at the Open Championship?
You mentioned the demeanor on Terrell Hatton, who we had last week. I really wonder what – 2 things. Number one, I wonder what would have happened if he wouldn't have triple bogeyed the very first hole that he played. But he did, like you said, Wes, recover. He shoots 66, 67, 69 the next 3 days. He scrambled back to shoot even par on that first day. But, man, when you come out of the shoot, first hole, and you triple number 1, that could scramble your brain for the rest of the week, and it didn't for him.
Yeah, and that's kind of a change of pace because that's always been kind of the thing with Hatton. It's like he plays well, and then he hits a bad shot, and he's usually pretty expressive and demonstrative, and then it would snowball. And then all of a sudden you get a run of bogeys and everything would fall apart. And you don't see that anymore. I think he's a lot better at managing his game. Maybe being the first-time dad has cooled him a little bit. He always has that little bit of spice in him, kind of like John Rahm does. But it's like, okay, let that anger out and then move on. Don't keep it in. Just let it out and then move on to the next one. And I think you're seeing him do that. And he's for majors. He's very good on links. He's won the Dunhill links, I think, like 3 times in his career. So the pedigree, I think, on these type of courses pretty apparent.
Wes, I know you start the car with Fitz and Fleetwood. My question on Fleetwood, he's about plus 1750 right now at our friends at DraftKings, Bally's here locally, but I was a little surprised how low that price was. I know he's a local guy. He's an Everton fan, which, I have a problem with that because I'm a Liverpool guy. But nevertheless, he's local to this course. He grew up. He could walk on this course, basically. And he's got all these top 20 finishes. He's been a machine. But I find myself a little concerned that a guy who has yet to close at a major, yet to close really any tournaments, is going to be able to do it where the pressure is, to me, at its highest, right? It's a hometown, sort of crowning it this week. Does that make you nervous? And if he's in the mix on Sunday, would you look at him as more of a hedge opportunity than most of the other players that you might have in the mix?
It does make me a little nervous, Max. And by the way, you mentioned Liverpool. Terrell Hatton is a Liverpool guy, so
there we go.
I think he's going to like it on the road this week. But with Fleetwood, I think no doubt, probably the best bet if you're going to bet him at all or have any exposure is top 20 Tommy here. Mm-hmm. Where you're probably laying minus 110 in the market on average. So it's basically a regular 11 to 10 bet because I think he'll go well here. But he hasn't, you're right, he hasn't been up there right in the mix challenging for a win really since he did so in the fall at the FedEx Cup when he ended up winning the FedEx Cup. So that's a little bit of cause for concern. So it's all about his start, though, for me. If he starts out well, I think he's going to keep that momentum. If he starts out, where it's like he's around even par, maybe shoots 1 or 2 over, that's when you worry. But usually when he gets in the mix, he at least stays in the mix. Now, closing it out is obviously a different discussion.
Before we let you go, England and Argentina got a game and/or the finals on Sunday, which Spain has already advanced, of course.
Yeah, the first one in Spain was really impressive yesterday. I don't know how you're going to score on these guys, so they're well-deserved to be the favorite. But both teams to score is the way I went with Argentina and England today. And Argentina's been living dangerously, I think. So maybe that's a sign of, that they have always got a chance. They're never beaten. But I think England's going to advance. I don't know if it's coming home, like the motto says, for the World Cup over there, but I think that they're going to make a final. I like their talent. I think Bellingham, honestly, has probably been about the best player in the whole tournament, and wouldn't be surprised if he got on the scoreboard today. So both teams score and England to advance.
Wes, we always appreciate your time. Good luck with your open picks. We'll be following along with you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, fellas. Appreciate it.
Wes Reynolds from VEASAN. We're here at Modesto Restaurant Week. Next week, $30 per person, July 21st through the 25th. Three-course meal with multiple choices there for $30. And don't forget about their daily happy hour from Tuesday till Friday until 6 p.m. Half off Modesto Rita's draft beer and wine. Our consensus golf picks when we come back. Max will give you his thoughts on the card this week. Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
With want fewer AC breakdowns, lower energy bills, year-round peace of mind, join the Total Maintenance Membership Program today at 480-0007. Regular maintenance keeps your system running efficiently while catching problems before they become costly repairs. Repairs are needed? They're backed by our lifetime warranty. Need a replacement? Financing is available. There's a regular maintenance program at $24.95 a month, but the real bang for your buck is the Elite Membership Plan. First of all, with the Elite Membership Plan, you get a $200 credit. Total Maintenance Bucks credit. Store those away and build them up for when it's time to replace equipment. You're not hit with that big ticket. You got the money saved up to pay for it. Half of your monthly, your dues go to this credit as well. So service twice a year, 50% off diagnostics, 15% off repairs. All repairs come with a 3-year warranty. Comes with a great sensor system with the app to notify of a breakdown, to early detection to avoid more costly repairs as well. It's a great deal. Elite Membership Program. Give us a call at 480-0007 or tm-ac.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Our Wednesday consensus golf picks are brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
All right, Max, your card, we found some common ground here between you, Wes, and Rab even chimed in, so I think I know where you're starting, but let's hear your card and where the consensus is.
Sure, and I agree with Wes. A lot of times I tend to try to avoid the English and European players because the value is kind of gone. People are betting them because it's the British Open, the Open Championship, whatever you want to call it. People think of those players first, but I found myself on a lot of these guys once again, and it's just odd to me. Full disclosure, I have a future bet on Chris Goddard at 50-1. He's down to about 30-1 this week. I don't think I'd bet him at that price, but that's going to limit my card this week since I already have some exposure on this one. I am going to start my card with the most popular pick this week. If you listen to any golf content this week, I guarantee you've heard this name. You heard it from Wes. You heard it from Scott. You're going to hear it from me. Matt Fitzpatrick is plus 1750 over at Bally's, the Queen, our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook. He has been outstanding. Right now, he'd be the player of the year, in my opinion, for the PGA Tour. He's got 3 victories to his name. Of course, we know he won the Zurich Classic, but he won an elevated event at the RBC Heritage, as well as the Valspar. He finished runner-up at the Players' Championship. 3 of his last 4 events, he's finished in the top 5, including last week at the Genesis Scottish Open. I had him last week. I thought he was going to win on Sunday. Just didn't quite have it on Sunday, but nevertheless, a great links player over the years. He was 4th last year at both the Open and the Scottish Open, so he's shown you he can play on these links courses. I think with the firm and fast conditions, you're going to see a lot more runoff on the drives. There's going to be a lot more thought process off the tee, which is what I appreciate. I think Fitzpatrick can do very well at a thinking man's course. He's somebody who really breaks down the course. He writes notes, all these things. So I think his strategy will be there for this week. Yes, there's the pressure of being an Englishman, winning on English soil at the Open Championship. And he has struggled a little bit at majors this year. Fine finishes, but ultimately not that much in the mix. But he has won a U.S. Open before, so he's shown he can do it at a major championship. And I just think that this setup is going to be very important, especially around the green play. On firm conditions, we're going to have to bump the ball into the ground, get it rolling earlier. You're not going to be able to fly it and flop shots because it's just too firm out there, and I think he can do that at a premium. So Matt Fitzpatrick plus 1750 right now, my first play. Victor Hovland is 34-1. He has formerly played well at a very firm and fast golf course at an Open Championship. That was back in 2022, the St. Andrews, where he finished 4th place. He was in the mix for much of that tournament. He was in the final group, and that was one of the more firmer setups we've seen of St. Andrews over recent years. He's also yet to win a major championship. He's looking for his first, and I always thought it would be a PGA championship that would fit him very well. But he won a couple of weeks ago at the Travelers, finished 13th last week at the Scottish Open. He was 3rd in the field in strokes gained tee to green, just didn't really putt very well. If he can find the putter this week, I think he is playing plenty well enough. He's an elite ball striker, and he's shown he can do it well enough at a links golf course. I'll take Victor Hovland, the Norwegian, at 34-1. Maybe he'll have some Norwegian support now that they're out of the World Cup. Tyrrell Hatton, you heard him earlier. He's 38-1. Another links master. If we've seen over the years, he's won the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship over on the DP World Tour. He's had some success, and he was 17th last week at the Scottish, despite not really hitting his irons well. You mentioned the triple bogey early in his tournament. But he has been putting the absolute lights out in his last 12 rounds. U.S. Open, he finished 7th. And Alusha on Live, he won that tournament, so that's the last Live tournament that he played in. He won it, and I just think the golf course suits him well. And again, makes me nervous. He's an Englishman at home. He'll have a bit of a rallying cry, a bit of support with him throughout the week. That also brings added pressure for his first major victory. But nevertheless, I think Tyrrell Hatton can break through this week as somebody who's just going to find this golf course fit to a tee to his game. A player I did not expect to be on when I started my card this week, but it just kind of ultimately fit in to what I was going to try to do. It's the hometown kid. It's Sam Burns. He's 55-1 this week. I think that's a good value when you just look at his major track record this year. 26th at the PGA, but 7th at the Masters. Runner-up, of course, at the U.S. Open, was right there in the mix. So he has been a top 3 player in terms of overall major finishes this season. And, yes, he went away. He did not get to play in the Scottish. Normally there's a lead-up to this. With the Scottish Open, you normally would like to acclimate yourself to links golf. But his iron play is as good as it's been throughout his entire career. And I just think for someone who is finding his footing in major championship golf over his last couple of seasons, at 55-1, I think the value is there. He's down here because of the situation where he didn't play last week, where he had the birth of his second child. And so he's kind of coming under the spotlight without a whole lot of attention this week. But I think I've just got to play his form right now and just hope that he's managed to keep it together throughout his absence. It's not a long absence. We saw him at the Travelers at the end of June. So a player who's finding his footing, as I mentioned, in major championships, maybe he can get it done. I don't want to miss out on Sam Burns at 55-1. And finally, a couple of years ago, I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago now, I hit Brian Harman at 150-1. A long shot who I think long shots have a chance. I think this is an open type of tournament. With how firm and fast it plays, you don't have to be a long hitter because you could hit iron. They're saying 6 irons are going almost 300 yards at this point. So you can try to be a little more conservative off the tee, hit an iron, try to find the fairway, just it'll roll for days. So we can see an older player, a senior player, perhaps in the mix this week. But I'm going to look at a player who's won an Open Championship on a firm and fast setup, who also has a top 10 finish at a major championship this year. And he's 150-1. And that's Cam Smith. Cam Smith, the Australian.
I remember him.
Lost his form over the years, he has been most affected of probably any player by his departure from LIV. And shortly after he won in 2022 at the Open Championship at St. Andrews, the home of golf, where they'll be back next year, and I'm sure he'll get some more attention for that, he left for LIV right after that and has not been the same since. But we saw it at the PGA earlier this year. At Aronimink, 7th place finish. He's finding a little bit more form, especially with his iron play, since bringing on Claude Harmon as his coach. He's always a great putter. He's always a great around-the-green player. So the short game is there this week. We've seen him do it at a Links Golf Test. And at 150 to 1, I think he's got a chance this week. I know a lot of people were burned by him at the U.S. Open. He missed the cut. But Cam Smith, to me, at 151 is just a value that I can't pass up. So Matt Fitzpatrick, Victor Hovland, Tyrrell Hatton, Sam Burns, Cam Smith, my 5 picks. I mentioned I've got Chris Gotterup. I've got some rooting interest there, but that'll give a little bit of room for any live ads as well. Want to mention a couple other quick props before we get to the consensus. Jordan Spieth is minus 104 against Bryson DeChambeau. Now, look, Spieth's out of form as of late, but he is a links master. He has never finished worse than 44th in a links test. Bryson, meanwhile, he's missed every cut. We mentioned he's going for the Cancun Slam. He has not been a links player over the years. So he's only beaten Spieth at an Open Championship once ever. That was last year. To get even odds pretty much for Spieth over Bryson, a clear mismatch. I like that matchup as well. You can look at top Nordic player, Victor Hovland. We mentioned him already, but plus 305 I think is a good value considering. And Justin Rose. Scott mentioned he'd be a great field player. You know, he's going to have a lot of support this week. And he's come top 15 in all 3 majors this year. I think top 20 finish, including ties. He's plus 160. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Englishman there. I don't think he can win because ultimately I think there's too much pressure there. But plus 160 for Rose at top 20 makes a lot of sense as well.
Can I throw one in?
Sure.
And this is easy, but as soon as you say that, it's not going to hit. But Matt Fitzpatrick, for a top 10 finish, we're looking at as high as plus 188. That seems like a real. I mean, I don't know if he's going to win this thing, but that you're getting you can see 2 to 1 from where you are for him in a top 10 finish.
Look,
the way he's playing.
We give out outright winners here, but I can't endorse that enough. I mean, he is 3 of 4 top 5 finishes, and with all the people picking him, with all the pressure, maybe that keeps him from winning. But I absolutely think with the form he's in, he's going to be in the mix. So top 10, absolutely. I gave him out as an outright, but yes, top 10, no doubt about it. Fitzpatrick, he's one of our consensus picks. Me, Wes, Scott, we're all on him. Charlie, it sounds like you're on him as well. So Fitzpatrick, top 10, but outright he's plus 1750. And our other outright consensus pick between myself and Wes Reynolds is Tyrrell Hatton at 38 to 1. So we're going with 2 Englishmen on English grounds.
Our consensus golf picks brought to you by Dana Brown and the law offices of O.C. Brown. You know, both Jimmy and I have used the offices of O.C. Brown numerous times in our lives when be things that you have to go through to settle an estate, or things that you have to go through if you've been in an automobile accident. The initial consultation is always free, so whatever your legal needs are, the law offices of O.C. Brown is here to help. 343-1111, 343-1111, and ocbrown.com online. Dana Brown, the law offices of O.C. Brown, bringing you our consensus golf picks. Come back and wrap things up here at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years. You know, at United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hardworking folks behind local business, all the way from initial startup loans to ongoing planning and assessments. United Community Bank is here for you. Prentice Wilkes, Heath Muir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. Stop on by and discuss how we can help your business today. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
ACC Media Days winding down. You remember the ACC Championship last year, right? It was a 5-way tie for second place that ended up putting Duke in the ACC Championship game over. Who was it now? Miami. We ended up playing for the national title. So the league needs a new tiebreaker. Came up with a new tiebreaker. They announced it today. You know what it is? Me neither. because they're going to use something. Tell me that this is not just absolutely dying to be picked over. They are going to get the league to the right place to feature the two best teams, and they are going to reward the team with the strongest body of work. How are they going to do that? They're going to use something called, stop me if you've heard this one before, Team Success Ranking provided by Sports Source Analytics. Now, there's something that's going to be easy to understand, right? We don't use enough analytics and stuff like that. Furthermore, this year, because of the previously scheduled non-conference games, 12 teams in the ACC are going to play 9 games, and 5 of them are going to play 8 games. But guess what? They're not going to have any type of discrimination against them in the analytics, whether they played 9 games or 8 games. Really? Isn't that kind of a big deal? The SEC argued about this for, 10 years before they finally got them to go from 8 games to 9 games. Could you imagine if only 2/3 of the league was playing 9 games and the other third was playing 8? This would be an excellent opportunity to jump on the soapbox about how Notre Dame should either join the league or not join the league, but I'll leave the low-hanging fruit. You do analytics as well as anybody. How in the hell are they going to explain this? Team Success Ranking by Sports Source Analytics. Yeah.
Can we just call it BCS? Can we just go by that? I mean,
we could just call it BS. We could do that.
You could. I think they have to do this, though, right?
They got to do something.
If you're not the SEC or Big Ten, where your conference champion or whatever, your conference runner-up is automatically going to get into the playoff, you need to create the best way for them to get in.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
This is trying to put the best team in. I know it's complicated, but we've seen the Mountain West has employed a tiebreaker similar to this. They've got a tiebreaker where it's a combined metric system that determines their tiebreaker. So you've got to do this if you're not a top conference.
I'll get back with you on the details when I figure them out. I got to do some reading. Thanks to Modesto for being our host today. Restaurant Week next week, $30 per person, multiple choices for your 3-course meal here. Happy hour Tuesday to Friday from 2 until 6. Tomorrow we are at Bally's. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and stay tuned for Hunt on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.